Hey guys, I'm Derek Warburton, and I'm so excited. I just got off the Resilient Minds podcast with Eric Balance. It was unbelievable, so cool. We talked about heart, we talked about mind, we talked about fashion, of course, and Hollywood, and we talked about all things spiritual. And I just loved it, and I can't wait for all of you guys to check it out.
Hey everybody, it's Eric Balance coming to you with the Resilient Minds podcast, where I feature beautiful entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts in their field, where they help us discover their X factor, their experience of life, only to discover how they were able to accomplish and find out their Y factor, their big why, their purpose in life. So join me as we get to discover the beauty of our minds and how can we really continue to go after the biggest and most wildest dreams while we continue to pursue and manifest our greatest intelligence that comes from the heart. Also, if you haven't, go check out the new alignment course that I've created at www.ericbalance.com/alignment, ALIGNMENT. See you on the show. Welcome everybody to the Resilient Minds podcast. I'm super grateful, excited to connect today with a new dear friend, Derek Warburton, also known as Derek Fabulous. Am I correct? Amazing. So
yeah,
for those
really
of you,
fun. Go
ahead. No, I was just gonna say that, it's beautiful because I've looked and paid attention, media entrepreneurship, celebrity fashion stylist, things that have for me been extremely exciting. And it's beautiful to see this beautiful mirror, this amazing mirror, authentic mirror in front of me in a space where really authenticity is not as common as we would like it to be, which we were discussing just before we started.
Yeah, I mean, I live in West Hollywood, and you're not getting less authentic than living in the middle of West Hollywood, in a Hollywood career, in this celebrity lifestyle that I live. And funny enough, I have been so blessed within that space, and I found my home, I found my life, I found self-love and authenticity through building the life that I wanted instead of being dictated to of what I am and what I'm going to be and what this all will play out as, and so much part of that is making choices. And I don't work for other people. I work for myself. I have clients, but take me as I am. If you don't like it, you can go, and I've been like that from the very beginning. And I think that's, funny enough, especially in the world that we live in now, that is the key to success. I am me, you are you. I'm here to help you grow. If you got something to say about me, you can go. Bye. I don't put up with any of that. And I will tell you that, I just had this beautiful experience recently, and I launched my new makeup line with Face Stockholm. And
congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'll tell you the story about how it happened. It blew me away, and it makes me cry every time because it was first time in my life someone gave me something because I am who I am. And that's never happened to me, ever.
The being,
especially in a professional situation.
Allowing yourself to be, right? Rather than the doing.
Yeah, I had, I don't even want to call it an epiphany. It was just a internal spiritual shift. And it really happened at the end of last year, coming into the beginning of this year, because I went home for the first time in a long time.
And where are you from? Where's home?
I'm from a tiny, tiny town in New Hampshire. Okay. And it was incredible because I love going back, and
of course,
but I didn't realize
family, right?
Yeah, no, my entire family is from there. You know, I was the only one that really kind of went and did. And but I love being from there because the basis of who I am is always that, you know.
Let me ask you
And
a question, because I think that's super part of, like, you know, I talk about the piece of like our experience contributing to our purpose. And I'm like you, I really went out and did, you know, I'm from Canada, you know, my parents brought, like, they immigrated from Poland. And this going out, like, you know, like, it's always like, that seems like the black sheep, they kind of go out and like make their own, you know, mark in the world. And so black sheep, not black sheep. You know what I mean, though, right? It's like, we're going out there to want to like really put our mark in the set. And it's more about finding the inside. And it's like we go out to look out onto the world only to go deeper inside to then recognize, wow, everything that we've literally been seeking for is inside of us. And most importantly, it's been the love of our families that has cultivated that strength and that resilience. You agree?
yes, but I have one correction.
Please. No, of course. I mean,
We're not the black sheep anymore. We're the
yes.
unicorns.
Yeah, I agree. Thank
We're the
you.
unicorns
Thank you. Thank you.
because
Yes.
we
Thank you.
are special. And just because people don't see us does not mean we're not there. And I believe in that so wholeheartedly. And every friend I have that feels like they don't belong, they feel like they've been shut out, every single thing about them, I always express that they're unicorns. And in the beginning, they never get us because we're so special and we're offering something so different that the general public had never seen anything like that before. But we're the ones that bring change. We're the ones that can start beautiful conversations and open minds and change culture and to grow culture and to allow people to be who they are. And that is something that I've learned, and it's something that I preach on a regular basis to kids, to students, to everyone, that you cannot be afraid of who you are because you don't fit in. Because someday they're going to all want to know you because you're the unique one, you're the special one, and you're the one that can open the world and people's minds and hearts to so many different things.
Thank you. Thank you for this. This is like, it speaks to my heartstrings big time, because I feel for so long, you know, when I was told, you know, that I'm too much, I'm too intense, or all of these things, and really learning about like that my vision was bigger than I've ever even dreamed of. And it's now coming into a place where I don't have to do anything. I'm just being in this place and like centered, you know, and everything just starts to come, you know what I mean? And you know this because you've experienced, and
it's happening. I'm in the middle of it this moment. Seriously.
Yeah. It's amazing. And it's so exciting because it feels like, wow, everything that I literally saw in my mind or in my dreams when I was sleeping or when I woke up, and now it's physically showing up in my like aura, in my, you know, like, and it's just makes me so excited. It makes me feel like, you know, like we're like these kids playing in the playground of like Earth. And
but
you
that's
know,
what
like
it should be like, you know. It's
exactly.
like it's creative visualization and seeing your truth in front of you. And just because other people can't see it doesn't mean it's not true. And you have to know, you have to believe, you have to see it for it to happen, you know. And you know, for so long I have saw what I would be, and I've become that. And I didn't know how it would happen, but I worked my ass off. You know, I was up at 5 o'clock this morning working. I work every day, constantly. This weekend, I had my first real day off over the weekend. And I had a friend, a fellow unicorn, who
Of course.
I'm helping brand herself into what she is. And she is unbelievable. And she stayed the weekend, and we did some photographs to help her really encapsulate what the vision is. And then she left Sunday, and I just boom collapsed. And then Monday I'm still working, even though it's a holiday, and every friend is like, stop working now, you know. But when you have a dream and you have a purpose, it's not work anymore, is it? It's nature.
Like
It's your nature. It's your second nature. It's the thing that drives you. And it's also something that if more people found that kind of passion, there'd be a lot more happiness in the world, you know, instead of everyone hating their jobs and thinking it's a job and not a life or a career. And my dream for people, and when I speak at colleges or I speak in different scenarios in professional manners, is that they find that. I don't care if you go to college, I don't care what you do, but if you find that kind of passion for who you want to be and what you want to contribute to the world, it's done. You're already there. You know what I mean? Because that is half of it. That is all of it, frankly. That's all you need. It's all you need. It's all here and here. That's it. And with that, you create this tunnel of good and love and passion and this need to go. But that's true success.
Do you feel, you know, especially like, because you're in Hollywood, I'm in Dubai, you know, I've been traveling, you've been traveling. Do you feel, you know, like there's a lot of illusion? You know, we talked about inauthenticity at the beginning, and, you know, there's things when we capture this level of awareness, right? And we go through this state of really discovery of self, and that, you know, we're really feeling like we're dancing with the divine, you know, our creator, our co-creator. And when we're doing this work, because we've done it on ourselves and we've taken the time to really hone in, do you ever feel, because do you ever feel like the illusion that people are trying to portray, it sometimes is so out of alignment and out of integrity that it's almost like our creator, our, you know, nature, vibration, frequency, whatever you want to call it, God, is almost like creating an aura so that these vibrations are not able to get close to you, or they do get close to you and you have to build a boundary. You know, how does it kind of affect you? And if it does, or if you even see it?
I see it all the time just because of where we are. But frankly, you know, it's like, I have respect for everyone's hustle. And I have this quote that I've said my whole life: don't knock a hustle.
Mm-hmm.
I won't knock a hustle. Nobody, you know, because I always feel that we're all on our own journey.
Yes.
And not all of us are on the same spiritual path. And not all of us have found that. You know, it took me a long time to see really what I needed to be and where I needed to go. You know, it's like, I've always been a so-called good person and been told that for, you know, because I found a space for myself because I wasn't really healed from my childhood. And so I found that space within that Derek Fabulous character I created. And that character means help, teach, inspire, love, and have fun. And I created a program for the homeless because I was a homeless teen and bullied, abused, suicidal, which I had never admitted until April 7th on stage in a room of major people and legends. And I just kind of said it. And that changed my life, so recently. And so, when I was talking, I had never been able to put everything in direct words like I could that night, and I have a friend who was like, you've done 100 award shows, you've given awards, you've won awards, you've been honored around the world, literally. And this event that I just did, it was the New You Beauty Awards, and I won the Style Icon Award.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. But I've been through this before, but I've it's like, I've been very blessed in my career with accolades. With that said, I was going through in a really emotional time, and I think most of us have been in some way, whether you show it or not, because of the pandemic and the effects that had on us, with or without even realizing. Because I think a lot of people were heavily affected and didn't really realize it. And so I had gone home at Thanksgiving, and things really came up for me that weren't closed. And it was a lot of childhood stuff. And I saw my family. We had a great time. I cannot even say anything bad happened, because nothing did. It was beautiful. And it was so great to reconnect. But I had a lot of residual feelings from my childhood that I forgot. And when you're in a new place, it hits you in a different way, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Because you're in a totally different mindset in your life. And I hadn't been home in a few years because of COVID. And then right before that, I was so busy. And when I got there, a lot of that came flooding back. And I didn't realize it at the moment. And I got really sick after. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm going through a lot of stuff. And I've never cried in my life. Wow. Because I always thought I had to fight. And I just started crying all the time.
The release finally
constantly.
Yep.
And it was just all coming to the surface, Yep. And I had had a lot of negative people in my life, and they all left the building, not because of them, because of me. I changed, not them. And I had to go through this metamorphosis of truth to myself that I needed to cross over to the next space and to the next ray of light for myself, in order to be my true self, to feel safe, to feel loved.
You actualized and anchored.
Yeah. And through all of this, I'm trying to figure out, I have to go to Miami for this award. And I'm like, I can't find an outfit. And it's funny how it all kind of materialized within that, because it was like, oh my God. And I kept saying, like, relax, like, this is not your, like, I never have a problem with clothes, like,
it's trying to break what happened there.
It's so natural.
Breaking, I get it, because what was happening there, it was breaking your pattern to come back into the physical reality so that you could actualize and you could be in this physical. And so once you were able to, like, get into that next stage or that new level, right? The pattern needed to shift, to break your pattern, be like, holy cow, I just up leveled. I just, right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So cool.
And I will tell you that I spent so much time on it, and a friend is like, what is going on? Like, who cares? Like, this is not, like, and I was laughing because I was agreeing, and I'm like, why is this turning into such a story? And multiple things, like, finally I found the right thing. And then I flew to Miami with a really dear girlfriend who we started our careers together, and she's come back into my life again. And she presented the award to me. And And a lot of friends came from the past who had really been through a lot with me. And so I got there and I didn't even think about it as I'd been thinking about it every day. And then once I got in this space, it was just like boom. And it just came out unscripted. And it was beautiful because it was the first time within myself I could really say it straight, talk about everything, and admit things that I had never really admitted, but also articulate what things meant to me. And I hadn't really been able to do that because everything had always been like, oh, I do this because I love it, or I do it because I want to help the world, or, you know, all these different things. But I didn't realize that so many of the things that I'd done, like, you know, start this Derek Fabulous character, which became a program that I still do in New York for women, which became my big break in my career and helped thousands of families and women get close to go back to work, heal, you know, and just help with self-esteem. But within that space, I didn't realize how I was healing myself.
Of course.
And
Yes.
and how I was learning, you know, because we go in, we're like, oh, this is so nice, and you get these accolades, which at the end of the day are almost silly because it's beautiful, but really I won so much from these beautiful women and families who had been through so much themselves, and we were healing each other. And you know, and I always go ahead.
Sorry, do you feel that this experience was something that really allowed you, like the healing or the journey of prior to you becoming, you know, Derek Fabulous? Was there something really pivotal prior to you making this like character that made you want to shift? Because you mentioned earlier to me,
Yes,
that you didn't cry, you didn't let go, right? Because you always needed to be strong. So I want to kind of bring it back down to that, because I'm super curious about it, because I know that there's this essence of like this patriarchal disparity that has been passed down for thousands of years and generations of the way that a masculine and a feminine needs to show up in this reality. And it's completely, there's the misconception, right? It's actually super wounded masculine and super wounded feminine. And so the healthy masculine and feminine that's evident in all of us, no matter whether you're male or female, needs to be balanced, no pun intended, in a way that can allow us to be who we are. And so I'm curious to know, I'm super curious to know, is what was it through your upbringing that really kind of made you hold yourself back and not allow yourself to let go, and really step into this freedom that this Derek Fabulous character that allowed you to be free? So what was it that held you back? And then what was the turning point that allowed you to step into Derek Fabulous?
I think that in the beginning, when my parents got divorced, my biological mother was kind of all over the place, and she met a woman and they became a couple, but never came out of the closet. And so we were in this space, I was living with them, and then we had moved away from the rest of my family, kind of to start over. And so we're all together, and her partner was very abusive mentally. And I was treated like a possession. And I wasn't allowed to have friends, for sure. But also I wasn't like we would eat dinner. If I spoke, I was just belittled, and it was a very like spoke when spoken to, speak when spoken to, and also every word out of my mouth there was a criticism or be quiet, something. And then I would put my head on the table and wait for everyone to be finished, and then I would do the dishes and then go back to my room because I wasn't really allowed out of my room. So there was no television, nothing like that, which was okay in the end, because I don't even have, it's funny because that trained me where I don't even have a television now. I mean, I have one, but I don't know how to use it. So it is what it is. I more have one out of criticism. It's like, why don't you have a television? And then I was like, oh, I just don't know how to use it. I really don't. Yeah, tech in me is a no. So through all of that, you just kind of, and
you put your blinkers on, and you don't really, you get kind of like,
you're full of blinders, and then we were in upstate New York for a while, and then moved to Florida where we became homeless, and her partner's parents lived with us. Now, this is where the turn really happened, where so many things happened within that. And the partner's father ended up going to jail for holding this place hostage with the shotgun. That was a fiasco. We were literally homeless. There's a forest fire within that. And it was one thing after another. In the end of this very confusing story that will end up being a miniseries drama someday, it was me, the partner, my mother, in the woods, homeless. Everything I had burned and gone away, and with a fire that I was blamed for, when in fact it was the partner who had started the fire. And so a program came, like the program I did in New York, and brought clothes. And so that was the initial. And then within that, here we are, really homeless in the woods, and we had, no water, no electricity, no bathroom, sewer, anything. I literally would dig. I had to dig it. I dug it myself. And so, we lived like that for a long time. I still was a straight A student. I, did what I had to do, but the real mental stuff comes from the rest of my family, my father, my stepmother, my grandmother, who I'm very close with. None of them knew. I wasn't allowed to say. It was a life of lies, all lies. No one knew we were homeless. No one knew anything, nothing. And I had to lie. And that was a huge part of defense mechanisms, of walls, because I felt like I just had to survive. And I've always been a survivor.
Being just was like, was feeling like lying. And I think that, like, inherently, especially at a younger age, we don't want to be not telling the truth. It doesn't matter, like, whether you're older or younger, but I think inherently, especially when we're in that level of innocence and we're curious, we are prone, like, we're born really good. We're born out of love,
Right.
We're born love.
And I had a beautiful family, and no one knew. But that's the point of where I had become more of a possession. And I, was not allowed to say anything. And they were constantly in some sort of fight about me for something, but no one knew anything. And, it's like, we lived in Florida, and we had, I was in the ROTC, and I had to walk to school every day, miles and miles.
What's the ROTC? What's the ROTC?
Oh, it's like an army program.
Okay.
So, which I was forced into for, just for future stuff. And it was fine. It wasn't, I could talk bad about it, but I wouldn't. I mean, I honor our troops and, and I work with programs for vets. But it was, for me, it was really difficult. Also, we're in the middle of Florida and I have to walk to school every day, 3+ miles to and from. And I begged for a bike. This is a great example of what the household was like. And so I begged for this bike. I begged for this bike. My father had bought me a bike and shipped it. It never made it. So my biological mother and her partner had said, send us the money, we'll get his bike. So Christmas Day comes along, no bike. They had spent the money on the partner and the partner's mother. And then I had to get on the phone and talk about how much I love the bike and describe it in detail on Christmas. And so that was just a classic example of always having up walls and defense mechanisms, and why I would never be emotionally connected because of having to stay, and surviving.
What was the turning point that allowed you to say, okay, I'm actually not going to hold on to these stories anymore, right? I'm going to use them as a force of like change, and make sure that it like empowered me to go get to where you are today. So using them as a force for good for yourself. I'm curious,
it's taken a lifetime of work. It's taken a lifetime of work, to be honest. When I left,
do you still feel pain over them? Over some of these things that happen?
No. I find the good in them, because I have studied the situations and have turned it into something that I can use.
The lessons,
to help or to drive me forward or to learn from. I feel like, for me, that part of my story is so integral of who I've become. And but more so, the work that I've done for others is encapsulated my entire being. And my career, my soul, my heart is based around that kind of work. And what's so important to me is that other children or people or families don't have to go through the same thing. But if they do, those children can be me. And I wanted to build myself into a place where that would be a beautiful thing and a hope, And whenever I speak at organizations, especially to families that are in the middle of this sort of situation, I tell them first, I go first, because I know what I've built myself into, and I never want anyone to feel that I can't relate. And so I start off with my story first. And then I always say how I have been so blessed and lucky to be able to have the life I have now, so I could stand in front of you and let you know that your children can also be as blessed and as lucky as I am, as long as you love them and work as hard as you can to make them feel important and to help them grow. And you don't have to have $10, because love is boundless. Infinite. And money means nothing if they don't have that. Because the confidence of all of those things, I mean, how many times do we hear beautiful success stories of children who grow up and always talk about how they had a single mother and their mother fought for them to have a wonderful life. And, I pray for that for people, and the organizations I work with now really concentrate on that and try to make lives better for these children. And really, it starts at childhood, and what happens to you in your childhood affects your entire life. And
I'm telling
so
you,
many
like,
people don't have the support system.
yes.
And I was very lucky that I was an outgoing person and I could make friends very easily. And I developed that support system. I really work on it, and I worked on it.
How's
And
the
that's
relationship
why,
now
a
with the
lot of my
family?
successes come from that.
How's the relationship now with the family? Because I think that this is really a big part of it, is like the success that you've continued to have, and also the fact that you've continued to go back and like still build that relationship speaks amples to like the resilience you have in yourself, in the way that you can
Yeah.
navigate those relationships.
Well, to be honest, I left my biological mother when I was 15, and I haven't seen her since that day.
Yep.
Because I was going to kill myself.
Yeah.
I knew it. And I really had a breakdown about it. And I had gone back to see my family for the first time, my dad and my stepmom and whatnot. And I get off the plane and I find out that my stepmom is pregnant with my brother. And I was 15, and I was like, wow. And they knew something was up, but they didn't know, you know what I mean? And they didn't know for years. Even after I moved home, I didn't say anything. So their reasoning being, they were like, we knew you would never be allowed to come here because of the struggle between the families, that we didn't say anything. And so I'm there, and I built a cocoon around myself within academia and within activities. And I had done very well in school. And so that was my escape, and and so when I was home, my family knew that, and they were like, oh, well, and I was like, I think I want to leave. And they were like, well, you're doing so well. Why would you leave? Like, the school's amazing. You're getting straight A's and you're a great student and all these things. And you have all these programs that you're doing and your activities, because they didn't know the truth, And so I went back, and I go to get off the plane when I flew back to Florida, and my mother wasn't there, it was her partner. And I couldn't get off the plane.
But I'm curious to know about now the relationship with your family. Is it still like pretty, like your stepmother and your father? You said
my stepmother's my mom. Like, I call her mom. We're very, very close. I love her. They're actually coming here in November for both of my parents are stepmom and dad are very close in birthdays in November. So they're both coming for their birthdays. And then we'll do like Thanksgiving here, which will be amazing. And then, so my brother, their son, I'm very, very close to and really proud of him. He moved in with me right when he graduated high school. I was living in Manhattan at the time. And I was very lucky to have a multi-home situation. And he was able to move in, and he interned with us, and he really learned. He learned how to work. Yeah. Because if anyone knows me, they know very well how we work 24/7. Yeah. So he had a crash course in life, and but I'm so proud of him, and he's doing really well. He's married to this wonderful woman who I love, and he converted a few years ago. They're Muslim, she's Bengali, and they bought a home and they've got their businesses and they're doing great. I love them. And then the rest of my family I love. They're fantastic, you know. I don't see everyone as often as I would love to because I'm so busy, and this career is not, and I'm very aware of taking your moments, especially in this career, because when you're hot, jump. When there's an op, jump. And I've been very good about that to get to the next level, and I will just kill myself and invest to get to the next place. And because I know what's on the other side, you know, it's always more money, it's always more opportunity. And so I have always been so conscious of investing in myself because there ain't nobody else to invest in that's better than me.
Do you feel that there's a state that you get to, and you know, like I've been through this like deep journey, and I know that, and like I think the greatest part is like having the compassion, because you mentioned that earlier. It's like everyone's doing their own thing in the way that they need to hustle and they need to have, and I think that this is a huge part, is like, yeah, like let's have compassion for each other. I really want to encourage, and I think that a lot of people, because there is an awareness that I feel is super, it's almost like it's a how do you want to call it, like a hidden possibility that people actually can learn to do less and create more. And so when they discover, like, you know, who they are at a core center, and they calibrate within themselves, they can actually discover that they don't need to like hustle, that they can actually learn to be in their center and be like in this place where, and everything will actually show up for them. And for me, this has been a very evident, like clear outline over the past 5 years, because I used to be this hustler. And I've learned that there is a calibration that happens as we go deeper and deeper within ourselves that can enhance the aura or the energies around us. And so I'm curious to know, do you think that this is something that is possible? Do you feel that this is something that is possible? Do you feel that a lot of people are not aware of this? Or do you feel like they are?
That's an incredible question, actually, because I think about this regularly. So my philosophy is that if I have to work, I'm doing it wrong. With that said, though, if you want an empire, you don't work at one thing so you can do the next, to get that to a place where you can pass that off and do the next.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And so much of my life is about not wanting to run anything, but building things.
Yeah. Delegation.
And so I learned really young. I will forever be grateful to this woman who gave me a huge chance in my early 20s. And her name is Teddy Gunter. And I've never given her credit before, and I need to. And I'm going to start doing it regularly because I see now what she did for me. And she was an artist, a beautiful artist, who taught me how to run a business because she didn't want to work that hard. Was much older. And so I had a lot of catching up to do, and let me run it. And that I'll always be grateful for. And the first, we had our meeting, and she was like, listen, if you can turn this into a profit, I will give you half of this business in the first year. It was a profit within 3-4 months. And then within the year, obviously, we became full partners. And it was very successful for a long time for us. And then I grew. But I was so young that I knew I would grow. You know what I mean? And so, and as other people discovered that I was talented, and and how much I had to offer on a broadcast point of view, a style point of view, a management, all these other things that I was doing, I eventually moved on. But, I think that you can get to a place, depending on what you want in life, where you can just run it easily, because certain parts of my life run very easily, but other parts are still in development, and I am constantly on the build because I want an empire.
Yep.
And so if that's something you want, never ends, because you have to move on to the next thing, that you build a sense of operation, and then you pass it. Yeah. And then you build a system that people can live within, and you learn. And I'm still learning. I had a phenomenal learning day yesterday with media, because no one really understands how media really works. Nobody. And I'm so tick, 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 tick now. And it's like, this is insanity. How manipulative the media can be with.
This is what I'm talking about, the illusion, you know what I mean? And this is why I think it's super important for us as, really the new age coming forward with like intention, with purity, with integrity, to like, it's almost like, hey, like, let's stay connected and be connected and evolve and make sure that we're doing it in such alignment, because we're on different sides of the planet. Okay. And we can really be the reality of what the media for so often has been manipulated society based off of, government, religious, political, whatever views.
Money, just money.
Exactly.
They're paying for narrative.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. They think when they watch the news, this is the thing that kills me. Truly.
Yes.
When people watch the news, they take it as the gospel.
Yep.
I'm like, guys, first of all, the news is not a governmental agency. The news is a free enterprise that survives on finance. If people don't watch the news, they don't get the money. So the sensationalization, is that a word? Yes. So, this sensationalism.
Let's make it one. It's all good.
Yeah, fine. Oh, we're
whatever.
Developing all new things today.
We are creators here. We get to make whatever we want happen.
Right, exactly. And like in media in general, are narratives that are created by people that can pay for the narrative. And it's as simple as that. And the news, like, it's just 1 second. Sorry.
Okay.
So the news is built off of finance. Yeah. The newspapers are built off of finance. And no one seems to really understand that. And so you read something, you see something on the news, and you think, oh, well, this is it, or somebody puts something out like the government. And I'm like, well, are you sure about
people
that?
Don't ask enough questions. They don't ask enough questions. Like people are just like, yeah, okay.
And the defense, and I have friends that have been very involved in that world, very, very much. Like, I've heard tapes, everything, right? And it's so manipulated that you can't believe a thing you see within reason. Mm-hmm. And it's just really surprising that people just take everything at face value and they don't ask questions, because I don't think they want to know. They don't really want to know,
they don't want to take responsibility.
Right. And, I'm working with this beautiful friend, a new friend that I met, who I saw speaking and at the Women's Equality Fund for the Oscars. Yeah. And she's a senator, and she's running for mayor. And so we had a call yesterday, and I have a magazine called Gurus where I feature brilliant people, experts, gurus who live within 3 words that I live within. And it's truth, passion, and authenticity. Mm-hmm. And you can be whatever you are. Like we had Nicole Miller on a cover, and an American icon and legend. We're about to have Candace Bushnell from Sex and the City, who created Sex and the City and what she is. And, but we've also had the Hollywood beauty guru, and we've had brilliant doctors and social media experts who have changed the scope of making money in social media. And so, we're doing Senator Spearman. Her name is Senator Spearman.
I love it. I think this is amazing.
Yeah, it was, what, I literally just came up with the idea. I'm like, I'm doing this. Because it was where I was in life, and the 3 words came from actress Anne Heche. And I had asked her, she's my dear heart, and I had asked her to shoot it, the cover. And so we're there, and she's like, okay, give me 3 words that describe your heart. True story. And I said those 3 words. Yep. And I was like, this is what we are. And so on every cover, those words are written very small, hidden throughout the cover.
Truth, passion,
and authenticity.
I love it. It's so important. And it's one of the most meaningful things, like I think that the 3 of them encompass integrity, and integrity is like, I always say, life is an altar and each moment is a prayer. And if we can have the integrity to leave this world behind better than when we find it, then we've literally lived like sovereign kings and queens, willing to be deliberate creators in this reality.
I agree. It's that night that I was telling you about on April 7th, when I won that award, my kind of closing statement was that helping, loving, and giving is my style. Oh. And it's true. I built my life and mentality off of giving back. And frankly, my career has built off of service, which was never expected.
Which is the ultimate.
And then when I tell you it started working,
I love it.
It was like, oh my gosh, who knew that helping others would help me? Who knew? And that's what it's so, I did this other really beautiful podcast.
And it's because you helped yourself first, though. You know what I mean? Like you went deep inside.
You have to help yourself first.
And then you're able to give from that full cup.
Yeah, but what do you have to give if you can't? You know what I mean? Like
you can't do it for yourself.
You have to have enough to give. You just do. So you have to be healthy enough. You have to be mindful enough. You have to be conscious. And you know what's funny? This is a really interesting fact that I haven't shared that much. I started that program all those years ago now. I think it was like 2006. I started it because I was an enabler, which in turn was attached to my low self-esteem. And so I kept being hurt by people I was helping, expecting they would give in return, right? That's where the character came from.
Yeah, the victim mentality, right? When we have the expectations, we're thinking we're rescuing, right? And then obviously that's where it's like, hold on a second, we need to look back and we need to rescue ourselves.
Right. And so
I can relate
a huge
to that.
Part of all of that was the fact that I was done being an enabler. Because being an enabler is one of the worst things for yourself. Because you're constantly in a pattern of disappointment, always. And so that's where the program came from. That's where the character came from. That's where it all came from, because I was constantly on this wheel of disappointment and trying to be loved, when in fact, if I loved myself enough,
this is so beautiful.
I wouldn't need that.
Because this is so important, because I've been through the same journey and it's so similar. And I think that if we all, if we want to change the world, if everybody just changed themselves and like focused on the love themselves, we would change the world. But it's so difficult for so many, right? And I think, I really want to be conscious of your time, because I know there's, we're rolling at the end here. But the thing that I wanted to ask you, 2 more questions, actually, if you don't mind, if it's okay. I'll be quick.
Of course.
First question is like, who's the favorite? Because I love style, I love fashion. I'm super into fashion myself. I really want to create my own line, design, and like all of it, but I love style. I love the essence of bringing that beauty into the way that we express ourselves through our clothing. Who is been the most fun or person that you've styled in Hollywood, or any celebrity?
Oh gosh. Fun.
Yeah, fun.
That's a good question.
Anybody specific?
I don't know if fun. I mean, I've had a great time with most people. Yeah. I think who I've loved the most, I mean, a lot of my girlfriends now are like Anne, for sure. And Anne, I have to say, was probably one of the most important stories that I've done, because I did it for Mr. Warburton magazine the first time I really met her, and she hadn't talked about Ellen.
And what Anne's last name?
Haish.
Anne Haish. Okay.
Anne Haish, and she's a blast to work with because she's outrageous. The hands are going, it's a whole thing, and no fears, none. She's all in, which I think a truly gifted artist is. But some people are internal. She's there, on a shoot especially.
Love it.
And so she's been like one of my favorites, just out of fun, and also our personal relationship. But also, she told her story of Ellen 20 years later and hadn't talked about it. And, her story with Ellen changed the trajectory for the LGBTQIA community in Hollywood. Because before them, no. And the struggles they went through and the fighting they had to do as a couple really changed the culture. And
I really wanted to get into that too, because I think that, like going through that, community in Hollywood, I'm sorry that we didn't get to like touch on it, but I know that there's a lot of resilience that needed to be created, like to really like get, through amazing individuals like Ellen and doing things like this that really brought out the sovereign expression of like, hey, like, no, we're here and we're proud. And all of us should really take an example from this,
Yes. And, I think that the fears, and there's still fear, there's still so many people in the closet, which is really sad. But now it's becoming, for the younger generation, it's just, you come out, no problem. Like they just are, and now like, but some of the older generations still won't, just because I think it's their legacy and they feel like, oh my God, all these years later, the public will think that I've lied to them, which they have. But I understand, listen,
Or they're not ready
self-preservation
to even
first.
face it themselves, which is extremely difficult. Like if they're so
Yes.
unconscious that they're like they don't even know it themselves, and they're not willing
Well,
to
they
face
also live in a house of cards
it.
because they had to, you know. So there's that. Um, and then also, you know, our nation is going through something really difficult, and we're about to see a major roll. Well, we're already seeing a major rollback, and so, you know, it's gonna have to be Hollywood that's fighting. It's gonna have to. We're gonna all have to stand up.
I mean, I listen. I think that Hollywood, you know, I think it has even more of a responsibility. Personally, I think that Hollywood actors, Hollywood producers, Hollywood designers, Hollywood, like with these type of influence, really have a responsibility. And I know there's like some amazing people. There's lots of amazing people doing great things. You know, like shout out Adrian Grenier. Like, you know, a lot of good people are doing great things. Leo, you know, but the biggest thing that I feel, you know, because a lot of this is influence. It's like influencers, you know, let's be influenced. Let's take responsibility. Let's be sovereign kings and queens, looking after each other, taking care of our people, and making more of an effort to really like say, hey, government, like, no, or this is not right. This is not good. We have a responsibility to look after each other, because the biggest thing that I feel is like, we're family, you know, like if we really believe in this element of like oneness, and most of Hollywood that's gone after their heart and their heart's mission knows the connection of creativity
Right.
with our co-creator. So to
But the
me,
fact of the matter is, though, and we can say all of this, and it's a beautiful sentiment, but people have to vote. And if you're not voting, you have no voice.
but I
And
think I think
you
I
can
think
sit
it can
on
go
social
deeper.
media all day long and it doesn't do a damn thing. You have got to vote. I had a very long conversation about this yesterday with my senator friend, and
Amazing.
she has been in the middle of this. And, you know, from the Pentagon to everything. And it's like, you
Do you
have
think
to
it can
vote.
go deeper though, even deeper than the vote? Because I know that the vote is like, and you know, I know we're
Yes,
going
of
way over
course. You
time.
have to education, and you have to
Yes,
run. You have to
like
run. You
literacy.
have to be
Yes,
involved.
literally.
Like,
Yes,
and that's what it breaks
exactly.
down to. It's involvement. It's
Yeah.
people stopping worrying about what's going on Instagram and caring about what's going on in
In
their
front of their face.
world and their country, and the fact that, for so many, well, more than half the country lost their right to abortion, and so we need to be conscious of this. And whether you're for abortion or not, I'm not political per
No, I
se,
know it doesn't make, it doesn't
but
matter.
I will tell you
That's not the
that
point.
that that is a good example of what's coming. It's a good example of everyone talking and not doing, and you've got to do. And it's as simple as that. You have to take action. And it's just what it is.
That's
You
what
have to vote. Like in the midterms, I know for a fact, like talking to my friend yesterday, she's like, if these people do not get what's happening, this has been the plan all along. And if people don't vote in those midterms, and those Senate seats are lost, it's going to be a full rollback. Gay marriage will go away. It will be
Ray
annulled.
Dalio was talking some good like stuff like possible civil wars, things like weird shit. Anywho, I digress. So the thing that I wanted to ask you, last thing, because we're like way over limit, is if you had 3 days left to live, what would you do?
Go to my family. Go home. Walk the beach at home and honor the life I've had and the good work and the dreams that I have achieved, and just love freely.
Derek, honestly, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for your kindness, your graciousness, your brilliance. And I really appreciate you. I think this was a really pleasure to connect. And it was really, really nice to just hear your insights and your story. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. It was great. I loved it.
Hey, everyone, and thank you so much for listening to The Resilient Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to go comment and like and follow us on iTunes or Spotify. And make sure, please make sure that if you really love this, to share this episode. And make sure that you're inviting all your friends to like it as we continue to unfold what the beauty of our minds does. More importantly, how powerful our heart level of intelligence can be when we combine our heart and our brain together. And more importantly, check out the alignment course that I've created. It's seriously there for you to take advantage of at www.ericbalance.com/alignment. See you on the next show.